Hello, thanks for joining us for this JustGrants training session on application submission. We are happy to have you here today and hope to provide you with the information you need to manage these processes in JustGrants. My name is Alicia, and I, along with my partner Stephen, will take you through the steps to apply for funding opportunities with the Department of Justice.
In this video, we'll be discussing the steps you will need to take to apply for funding from the Department of Justice, or DOJ. We want to ensure that you are off to a great start and have the tools needed to complete the process. We will take a high-level look at the application submission process, then we will go through Step 1 of application submission, which includes submitting preliminary information in Grants.gov, followed by Step 2, locating and submitting an application in JustGrants.
We will also provide additional guidance on application activities that are useful in some circumstances. And finally, we'll go over where to go for help as you navigate through the system and the resources that are available to help as well. Let's begin with a high-level look at the application submission process. Application submission involves three systems in the preparation and submission of an application: SAM.gov, Grants.gov, and JustGrants. This flowchart shows that process from beginning to end. This is available for review on the JustGrants website. Now, for entities that are new to JustGrants, the initial entity onboarding process occurs during application submission and relies on two federal systems for critical onboarding data. Organizational entities seeking federal funding are required to register and maintain an active status in SAM.gov. For this reason, SAM.gov is considered the federal government's source of truth for organizational entity identifiers.
If an organizational entity is new to Grants.gov or JustGrants, the SAM.gov EBIS point of contact is automatically identified in those systems and is responsible for onboarding their entity and users into those systems. For individual entities, initial entity onboarding bypasses SAM.gov. All entities will need to complete the first step of the application process by applying in Grants.gov. For entities that are new to JustGrants, this will trigger the initial entity onboarding process. Existing entities will be able to quickly move along to the JustGrants step. In this video, we will walk through each of these processes. Department of Justice, or DOJ, application submission is a two-step process. The Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, provides two deadlines, one for Grants.gov and one for JustGrants. NOFOs also detail specific program application requirements. You will submit the first part of the application in Grants.gov by its specified deadline. Then you will complete the rest of the application in JustGrants, which has its own separate deadline. Prior to applying for federal funding, entities must register to do business with the federal government and obtain a Unique Entity Identifier, or UEI, through SAM.gov. Entities must maintain an active status in SAM.gov. An expired or incomplete SAM.gov registration will prevent application submissions in Grants.gov. Individual entities such as fellows are exempt from SAM.gov registration requirements and instead must use an IRS employer identification number as their entity identifier in Grants.gov and JustGrants. Let's take a moment to address a common question we are often asked concerning application submission. A lot of applicants want to know, what do I need to know about the deadline for submission of my application?
Application submission is a two-step process, starting in Grants.gov and ending with submission of the application in JustGrants. Each system has its own deadline. The staggered deadlines ensure that applicants have sufficient time to complete the application in JustGrants, where the bulk of the application work is done. Submitting early in both systems is recommended. If you submit prior to the JustGrants deadline, you will have the option to recall the application for editing. However, once the JustGrants deadline has passed, that will no longer be an option. Do note, no one can submit an application in Grants.gov for the NOFO after this Grants.gov deadline has passed.
As we mentioned, Step 1 in the application process with DOJ begins in Grants.gov. To submit an application in Grants.gov, your organization needs to have a unique entity identifier, or UEI, and an active registration in SAM.gov. If you need to register or renew, you can visit SAM.gov. The DOJ application process officially starts in Grants.gov when you submit the required application for federal assistance SF-424 for the funding opportunity you are pursuing. If you are new to this, I highly recommend checking out the Grants.gov Quick Start Guide. It is a great resource to help you get started. Grants.gov serves as the central hub for federal funding opportunities. To find what you are looking for, search for the opportunity number listed in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO. Once you've located it, complete the SF-424 and submit the application in Grants.gov. Only users with an authorized organization representative, or AOR role, can submit applications in Grants.gov, so make sure you know who is assigned that role in your organization. When filling out Form SF-424, make sure you complete all the required fields. If you are completing it online, you'll notice that some fields might already be pre-filled based on your entity's profile, which can save you time. Here is an important tip. The person you list in Section 8F will automatically become the application submitter, or AS, in JustGrants. This means they will receive notifications and next steps for the application, so it is crucial to list the correct person and their email address. If that person works with multiple entities like a grant writer handling applications for different organizations, they will need to use a unique email address for each entity and stick to those email addresses throughout the process. This helps ensure smooth communication and avoids any mix-ups. Let's move on to page 2 of the SF-424 and continue filling out the required fields. If you are completing the form online, you might notice that the funding opportunity fields in Section 12 are already pre-filled based on the NOFO you selected. For Section 15, you will need to add some preliminary details in the descriptive title of Applicant's Project field. Don't worry though. This information can be updated later when you are working in JustGrants if needed. Let's keep going with the required fields on page 3 of the SF-424. Here's what you'll need to include. In Section 17, enter the project start and end dates. For Section 18, provide your estimated funding amounts. Be sure to check the NOFO for specific instructions on how to complete Section 19, which covers state review. Section 21 must list a user with the AOR role in Grants.gov. If you are not sure about any of these sections, take a moment to review the NOFO for additional guidance. And again, this information can be updated later when you are working in JustGrants if needed.
Once you have completed the SF-424, you are ready to submit the application in Grants.gov. In the Manage Workspace page, you will need to select the Sign and Submit button. If the Sign and Submit button is disabled, this indicates you don't have the Authorized Organization Representative, or AOR role. Only the AOR can sign and submit the application in Grants.gov. After the application is signed and submitted, Grants.gov sends a series of confirmation emails. Contact Grants.gov if these emails are not received within 24 hours. You will know when Grants.gov sends the application information to JustGrants by noting that the agency received step appears in green in the Grants.gov workspace. At that point, Grants.gov data automatically populates a new application in JustGrants. The Grants.gov portion of the application process is now complete. JustGrants creates an application based on the information that you entered in the Grants.gov application. The person listed in Section 8F of the SF-424 in Grants.gov is automatically assigned as the application submitter in JustGrants. If you're new to JustGrants, the Grants.gov submission will also start the process of setting up an account and onboarding your entity in JustGrants. The SAM.gov POC will automatically be created as the entity administrator in JustGrants as well. And this is important because that individual will be responsible to confirm the entity profile in JustGrants and invite and manage all JustGrants users. There are several steps for the entity administrator to take to get started, so we've provided a link here to the entity management website where your entity admin can find all the instruction they need to get your entity started in JustGrants.
Let's take another moment to answer a common question about Grants.gov. Is it okay to enter preliminary information in Grants.gov? We haven't finalized our budget or project scope, but we need to submit in Grants.gov before the deadline.
It is just fine to enter preliminary information in Grants.gov if you haven't fully determined your budget or project scope. You will be able to edit and update all your entries in JustGrants. Once your application is submitted in Grants.gov, it is not necessary to return to Grants.gov to update your entries there. Step 2 in the DOJ application process is managed in the JustGrants system. JustGrants is the Department of Justice's web-based grants management system. It's a one-stop platform to access all your DOJ applications and awards. To help you at every stage of the grants lifecycle, DOJ provides a variety of training and resources. Visit the DOJ's full training and resource library online at justicgrants.usdoj.gov.
Learn how to submit an application for DOJ funding by following a step-by-step breakdown of the application process. View a checklist, eLearning videos, reference guides, and other resources at https://justicgrants.usdoj.gov/training/application-submission. We will provide all these links again when we review your resources at the end of this video. Before we get started on the actual submission for your grant, let's review the key application submission roles in JustGrants. Application submission in JustGrants requires 3 key roles: application submitter, authorized representative, and entity administrator. Let's look at each and their unique responsibilities when it comes to application submission.
First is the entity administrator. The entity administrator is critical to maintaining your JustGrants account. Your entity can only have one person assigned this role. The entity administrator manages users, roles, and assignments in JustGrants. This role is responsible for confirming the accuracy of the entity profile before application submission. The entity administrator is also the only user that can add and manage assignments for the authorized representative and application submitter roles.
Next up is your authorized representative. The authorized representative is the only role that may accept or decline an award on behalf of the entity. This role must be assigned to someone in the organization with the legal authority to enter into contracts, grants, and cooperative agreements with the federal government on behalf of the entity. While the authorized rep does not take any direct actions in JustGrants during application submission, it's expected that this user is familiar with the proposal and all legal implications to the entity. The entity administrator must assign this role to a user or to 2 for COPS office applications, a law enforcement, and a government executive. And that authorized rep must log into JustGrants before an app is submitted.
Last is the application submitter. The application submitter is the only role that handles all data entry in your application. This includes determining which forms need to be submitted, entering budget information, and completing all requirements as noted in the NOFO. Once completed, they certify all information in the application on behalf of your entity. Up to 3 application submitters can be assigned to an application at one time, but only one application submitter is able to work in the application at a time.
Let's break down the process, roles, and responsibilities involved in submitting an application in JustGrants. Here's how it works. Entity users, including the entity administrator, application submitter, and authorized representative, will receive notifications during the application process.
The entity administrator has a key role here, as they are responsible for assigning the application submitter an authorized representative to each application. Without these assignments, the application can't move forward.
Once the roles are set, the application submitter takes the lead in completing and submitting the application in JustGrants by following the required steps. The first step in JustGrants is for the application submitter to find the application. Let's review that process now. There are two ways to access an application in JustGrants. If you are assigned as the application submitter, you can access the application from my work list. Select the Case ID caret to expand and display the grant package detail. This shows the application number and when it was last updated. When you're ready, select the Case ID link to open the application. Another way to access an application is from the Applications link in the navigation on the left of the JustGrants homepage. The assigned roles are visible on the list. Up to 3 application submitters can be assigned to an application at one time. We will talk about how to access the application if more than one application submitter is assigned later in this session. Select the Application ID link to open the application. There are 2 ways to navigate through an application or grant package. First, the application submitter can progress through the application by completing each section and then selecting Continue. When the Continue button is selected, the system checks to confirm that all required fields marked by a red asterisk have been completed within that section. If required fields are missing, the system will display an error message at the top of the screen.
Alternatively, the application submitter can also use the right navigation menu to jump into different sections within the application. Note that using the right navigation menu will bypass the section-by-section error checks. There will be an opportunity to check for errors application-wide in the final section of the application. Make sure to use the Save button to ensure work is saved, and always save and log out before taking a break.
Let's review with a common question. How do I know what is required for my application?
Applications are customized based on the requirements of each NOFO. For instance, some NOFOs require applicants to submit a web-based budget, while others require you to upload budget documents. The NOFO is your best source of information regarding what to include in your application and any formatting requirements. Let's look now at demonstrations of each section of an application. Because applications reflect the requirements of each NOFO, details on some screens may vary from your application. We will begin our demonstration in an application that has just been opened. The first section in the application is the standard applicant information.
When you first log into an application, you will see the standard applicant information section. In this section, you will find the information that was transmitted from Grants.gov and now appears in your JustGrants application. Notice that the funding opportunity subsection is pre-populated and is not editable. Review the information displayed to ensure accuracy. The data is pre-populated with information from the Form SF-424. When we talked about Grants.gov, we told you that you could enter preliminary information there and change it once you got to JustGrants. This is the section where you can do that.
If your project information needs to be updated or the amount of federal funding has changed, use this page to type directly into the fields to make these updates. There is no reason to return to Grants.gov to make these two systems aligned at this point. Once your application is in JustGrants, you no longer need to make any changes in Grants.gov. Make any updates you like, select Save, and scroll down the page to see more. In JustGrants, any field that is marked with a red asterisk is required, so it must contain an entry for you to be able to submit your application.
The Areas Affected by Project field allows applicants to add impacted geographic areas. Select Add to include up to 10 entries, zip codes, states, precincts, or any other geographical area. If you have more than 10 areas affected by project, you can add that information in an attachment later in the application. Update the application type field if needed. Again, all the information that is pre-populated comes from Grants.gov and can be changed here, except for the application submitter information. This section reflects the person listed in Section 8F of the SF 424. However, that person may or may not be the application submitter in JustGrants. Select Save and then scroll down the page to see more. Update the type of applicant in executive order and delinquent debt information fields if needed. The type of applicant can be edited by selecting a different option from the drop-down list. You can add up to 3 types of applicants. The executive order and delinquent debt information is editable by selecting a different radio button. At the very bottom, you will see Cancel, Save, and Continue buttons. It's important to understand what they do. The Cancel button will return you to your work list and will not save any edits you have made. The Continue button will save your work, validate that all required fields are complete, and move to the next section. Select Continue, resolve any errors that display, and then progress to the next section of the application. The Save button will save your work and stay in the section you're working.
The authorized representative is the only role that can accept or decline an award if offered. This person must be designated in the application prior to submission. This example displays one authorized representative, and this is the screen you will see if you are applying for an OJP or OVW award. Awards from the COPS office require 2 authorized representatives, one a civilian and another law enforcement. For that reason, COPS office awards display 2 drop-down menus. Use the Select Authorized Representative drop-down menu to choose an authorized representative. After choosing an authorized representative, a confirmation message will display in a pop-up window. If a name is missing from this list, check with the entity administrator to confirm whether that user has been added, assign the authorized representative role, and logged into JustGrants to activate their account. Individuals assigned to the authorized representative role must have the legal authority to enter into contracts, grants, and cooperative agreements with the federal government on behalf of the entity. Review the Confirm Authorized Representative message in the pop-up window and select Cancel or Confirm. View the information for the selected authorized representative. This is an example from either the Office of Justice Programs, or OJP, or the Office on Violence Against Women, or OVW. If you are applying for funding from one of these offices, you will see one authorized representative. If you are applying for funding from the Community-Oriented Policing Services, or COPS office, you will select 2 authorized representatives. Typically, one will be a civilian and one a member of law enforcement. Select Continue.
Once the authorized representative has been confirmed in JustGrants, it's time to verify the entity's legal name and address. The information in the Verify Legal Name and Address section comes from SAM.gov. This information is important because it associates this application with a specific entity that is requesting funding. Verify that you have the correct UEI, that the legal name, doing business as, and address fields are accurate. If anything in the legal name, doing business as, or address fields requires an update, it must be done in SAM.gov. Your entity must make any necessary edits in SAM.gov, and within 1 to 5 business days, you will see those updates in JustGrants. Scroll down to the bottom of the page to select the Acknowledgement checkbox. Checking the Please Confirm checkbox indicates that you have reviewed and determined all the information about your entity to be correct. If the Please Confirm checkbox is grayed out, the entity administrator, or EA, needs to log into JustGrants and designate a legal address on the entity's profile. Select the Continue button to open the next section.
Next, we'll discuss how to submit the proposal abstract in JustGrants. A proposal abstract is a high-level summary of a proposed project. Check the Notice of Funding Opportunity for requirements. A quick link to the NOFO is displayed in the upper right corner of the screen. Most applications include a proposal abstract. A proposal abstract is typically no more than 2,000 characters and summarizes the proposed project. It includes the purpose, primary activities, expected outcomes, the service area, intended beneficiaries, and subrecipients. This must be completed in the JustGrants web-based form. Enter text directly into the proposal abstract text field. In any JustGrants text box, you will find that you get the best results by typing directly into the text field using available formatting options. The text field is limited to 2,000 characters. We don't recommend that you use a copy and paste feature from another document or website. Many documents and websites contain embedded formatting that cause issues in the JustGrants text field. Many of our technical support issues related to applications arise because information was copied from other places and pasted directly into JustGrants. If your proposal abstract has already been written in another document and you want to copy and paste, you will need to open Notepad. Copy and paste from the original document into Notepad, then copy and paste from Notepad into JustGrants. Notepad removes the problematic formatting and allows you to paste plain text into JustGrants. Once you do that, you can use the form editing options in JustGrants at the top of the text field to highlight, italicize, indent, or create hyperlinks. The abstract should be in paragraph form without bullets or tables, written in the third person, and exclude personally identifiable information. Abstracts will be made publicly available on the OJP and USA Spending.gov websites if the project is awarded. Once you have added the proposal abstract, use the Continue button to open the next section.
This is a good time to discuss a common question we get about proposal abstracts. I created all my text for my proposal abstract in another document, but when I pasted it into JustGrants, it's a mess.
The best option is always to type directly into JustGrants, but if you have already created content for any text section of the application in another document and prefer not to type it again, do not simply copy and paste that text into JustGrants. It will cause presentation issues. Instead, copy and paste into Notepad, then copy and paste from Notepad into JustGrants. Use the formatting features in JustGrants to bold, italicize, and otherwise format your text.
The data requested with application section contains surveys that may require you to answer questions related to your application. Most applications contain surveys for you to enter requested data rather than upload attachments. They display in the data requested with application section. If needed, check the NOFO for requirements. A quick link to the NOFO is displayed in the upper right corner of the screen. Select a link to open the survey. Required surveys have an asterisk in the critical component column. The survey opens to the first page. Multiple page surveys have page topics listed across the top. Scroll through each survey page and answer all the required questions. Select Next and continue through each page of the survey. Select the checkbox for the electronic signature. Select Next on the final page after all required questions are answered. A thank you message displays at the top of the page and the status of the survey changes from new to resolve completed. The completed questions and answers are displayed in read-only format. Select Close from the Actions drop-down menu to close the survey and return to the Funding Opportunities Specific Survey Questions page. As each survey is completed and closed, Reopen becomes enabled. This allows users to reopen the survey and edit their saved answers. Users may need to select Refresh from the Actions drop-down menu to display Reopen as enabled. Select Continue to move to the next section.
The proposal narrative is a formal, written request to support an applicant's project. The proposal narrative often includes a description of the need or problem the project will address, the goals and objectives of the project, how the project will be implemented, and the applicant's expertise to successfully complete the project. The NOFO will outline the proposal narrative requirements. A quick link to the NOFO is displayed in the upper right corner of the screen. The NOFO may include a page number limit, font requirements, and specific information that must be provided for your project to be considered. Because a proposal narrative can be lengthy, it is usually uploaded as a file attachment. In JustGrants, the Upload button indicates that you are uploading a file attachment from your workstation.
To attach file in the pop-up window, drag and drop it with your mouse. Click or use the option to select file and locate it on your workstation. Locate the file on your computer and select the Open button. File categories are critical to the application. JustGrants stores files and recognizes the file requirements based on the file category. For this reason, the category may not be changed. Verify the correct attachment was uploaded and select Attach, or select the trash icon to remove. In addition, for all uploads, file names are limited to 59 characters. If a file name is too long, a red alert indicator appears on the file name. File sizes are limited to 30 MB. If a file was uploaded previously, JustGrants will not allow a second file to be uploaded with the same name. Change the name slightly to upload a second time. Once uploaded, a link to the proposal narrative allows you to open and view the document. If this is not the correct document, use the trash icon to remove it. Select Continue to progress to the next section of the application.
JustGrants budget entry varies from one NOFO to another. Before we demonstrate how to include your budget in an application, it's a good idea to talk about some of the variations in budget entry you can expect to see. Before you get ready to submit your budget, there is some preparation you can do to better understand the process and make it go as smoothly as possible. A budget is a critical element of most funding opportunities. It's important to start thinking about your budget early as funding levels of grant programs change each year. Although the degree of specificity of any budget will vary depending on the project and agency requirements, a complete and well-thought-out budget will help to reinforce your credibility. Your budget should seek to justify all expenses and be consistent with your program narrative. There are 3 ways to submit a budget in JustGrants, and the specific method you'll use depends on the requirements outlined in your NOFO. Web-based. Attachment. None. With web-based, this involves entering budget details line by line directly into the fields provided in the JustGrants application. With attachment, you will create your budget in a separate spreadsheet and upload it to the application. In some unique cases, like certain formula programs, a budget might not be needed at all. The method you'll use can vary depending on the DOJ office managing the funding opportunity, whether it's the COPS office, OJP, or OVW. Be sure to refer to your NOFO and the corresponding guidance table for specifics on what's required for your application. First, we'll demonstrate the web-based budget. When a funding opportunity requires a web-based budget, the system will display a list of budget categories in the right navigation menu. The applicant must enter proposed costs within each applicable category. As the applicant views each category, prompts are displayed to guide the applicant through the required information in the budget category line item list. The additional narrative text field below the line item list can be used to provide additional information about proposed expenses. All budget categories for your application are listed on the right side of the screen when using a web-based budget. Refer to the NOFO for specific guidance on filling out each of these categories. For all categories, remember to include computations that clearly show how the costs were derived, as well as documentation that explains the cost or line item. If you are asked about conference costs, select Yes or No. Use the Continue button to open the next budget category. Notice at the top of each category, there is a caret to open instructions for that page. Click the caret to display additional guidance on this budget category. This category is for entering personnel payroll figures. List each position by title and employee name if possible. Show the annual salary and the percentage of time that will be dedicated to this project. List only employees of your organization. Any other grant-funded positions will be listed under the Consultants Contracts category. Use the additional narrative field to further explain important details or calculations for this category. The additional narrative field is not required. However, it is strongly recommended that you provide as much information as possible. Some NOFOs require that you enter budget figures as total amounts for the award. Others require that you enter amounts in each category on a yearly basis. This example shows entry of budget amounts broken out by award year. If you have a 3-year award, for example, you will need to enter budgeted figures for the first year, then add a year. You can copy the first year and update specific line items if you choose. Once you add a year, you can select the link for that year to see the line items and amounts. If you have created a year and would like to remove it, select the Delete Year option. Use the Continue button to open the next section. In the Fringe Benefits section, you will enter amounts based on actual known costs or an established formula. Fringe benefits are listed only for personnel and only for the percentage of time devoted to the project. Notice that you can add or delete line items using the plus add item or X delete item links. Use the Continue button to open the next section. In the Travel section, you will itemize travel expenses for project personnel by purpose. In the Additional Narrative field, show how you calculated these costs. Use the Continue button to open the next section. In the Equipment section, list non-expendable items that are to be purchased. Use the Additional Narrative field to describe the method that will be used to procure the equipment. Use the Continue button to open the next section. In the Supply category, list items by type and show how you calculated the costs. Generally, supplies include any materials that are expendable or consumed during the project. Use the Continue button to open the next section. As a rule, construction costs are not allowable. In some cases, minor repairs or renovations may be allowable. Check the NOFO and with the program office before budgeting funds in this category. Use the Continue button to open the next section. Open the instructions to guide your entries in the Sub-Award category. Should you need additional guidance related to sub-awards, refer to the NOFO for more information. Further questions should be directed to the contact listed on the NOFO. Use the Continue button to open the next section.
Open the instructions to guide your entries in the Procurement category. Use the Continue button to open the next section. Other costs are used to list items that are not specified by the NOFO to be included in any of the other categories. Use the Continue button to open the next section. Review the NOFO to determine whether or not you will make entries in the Indirect Cost category. Use the Continue button to open the next section. After all proposed budget amounts have been entered, the totals will display in the Budget Totals section of the Consolidated Category Summary. Open the Consolidated Category Summary section and scroll down to find the budget totals. You can view all budget categories and line items in the Budget Detail Summary view. Use the carets to open and view the individual line items. If your budget contains multiple years, you will need to open each year to view the line items for that year. When you are finished viewing, select the Continue button to move to the Check for Errors. When the Continue button is selected, the system checks for budget errors. Budget errors are displayed in a banner at the top of the page. Additionally, corresponding red alert indicators are displayed within the page. If red alert indicators appear next to a value, hover over the indicator to review further instructions. Select the error indicator to correct each error. The budget summary totals those same figures from the line items you entered in each section of the budget. The amounts in each of these fields must match those in the standard applicant information screen exactly to submit an application, and this table shows you where discrepancies exist. If you would like to change the amounts in the standard applicant information page to align with the totals from your budget summary, select the Yes button. This will change the entries in all 4 fields on the standard applicant information page to match what you have entered as your budget. If you plan to keep the amounts you entered on the standard applicant information screen, you will select No and return to your budget line items to adjust amounts there until the totals equal what you have entered in the standard applicant screen. Why can't I submit my budget as an attachment?
Pay attention to required sections. You must complete the application in the way that JustGrants presents it. For example, if your application contains web-based fields for your budget categories, JustGrants will not allow you to submit your budget as an attachment. You must follow the steps indicated in JustGrants. In some cases, the NOFO indicates that you will submit your budget as an attachment or series of attachments. If this is the case, you will not see all the budget categories we just displayed in the previous demonstration. This is what the screen will look like in JustGrants when an attachment budget is required by the NOFO. This is a representation. You may see something similar or slightly different depending on the requirements in the NOFO. This demonstration shows what a file upload budget looks like. In this case, you will see a list of attachments that must be uploaded to provide budget information. Notice that there is a separate upload button for each section. Each of these accordion sections allows you to upload a specific attachment. It is very important that you upload the file attachment associated with the accordion link. For instance, if you are asked to upload the pre-agreement cost documentation, you must upload it into that accordion section and note the file category associated with pre-agreement cost. Drag and drop the budget file or use the Select File or Files button to upload the budget spreadsheet. Change the attachment name if needed. The file category indicates in which section of the application the file will be stored. Mandatory file uploads will have a visible red indicator associated with the accordion section. Select Attach. The file is attached in the section of the application that corresponds with the file category selected upon upload. Select the trash can icon if you need to delete a file. If you uploaded the wrong file, you need to delete the wrong one to upload the correct one. Continue uploading all budget and financial documentation in their respective sections as required by the NOFO. The Profile button, seen here in the Indirect Cost Agreement, is not used in every category, but when it is used, it allows you to attach a file that has been stored in JustGrants for all users. Here you can attach a file that will be stored in the Entity Documents section of your entity's profile. This section is where your entity administrators can add entity-level documents that can then be referenced by all JustGrants users. Files stored in JustGrants are typically files that might be shared in applications or awards, such as an indirect cost rate agreement. In some applications, you may need to upload Memoranda of Understanding. In the MOU section, upload any documentation required in the NOFO. This is accomplished using the standard file upload steps. Use the default file category and continue uploading all relevant documentation as required in the NOFO. Use the Continue button to open the next section.
Your application may include a section called Additional Application Components. In the Additional Application Components section, upload files in the accordion sections as instructed in the NOFO. Again, be aware which accordion section you are using to upload a file and be sure you are matching the file category with the accordion section. In this part of the application, you will need to select your own file category. Do so with care.
Before submitting your application, you will need to view and certify disclosures and assurances. The Disclosures and Assurances section presents a series of subsections that must be read and acknowledged to submit the application. The subsections will vary depending on the requirements outlined in the NOFO. Typically, the first disclosure that applicants will see relates to lobbying disclosures. Applicants are required by law to complete and submit a lobbying disclosure form, Standard Form SF-LLL, if they have paid or will pay any person to lobby in connection with the award for which they are applying, and the application is for an award value of more than $100,000. You will be asked to answer a yes or no question. If you answer no, in other words, your entity does not pay or will not pay any person to lobby in connection with the award for which you are applying, then you will proceed to the next section. This disclosure requirement is not applicable to such payments by an Indian tribe, tribal organization, or any other Indian organizations that are permitted by other federal law. If you select yes, you are required to complete and submit an SFLL. Use the link in the text to download a form and fill it out. Use the Upload button to drag and drop the completed SFLL into the white field, or use Select File to locate the file on the computer. The completed SFLL is visible and is automatically assigned to the Lobbying Activities Disclosure category. Select Attach and then continue to move to the next application section. OJP applicants must disclose whether they have or are proposed as a subrecipient under any pending applications within the past 12 months for federally funded grants or cooperative agreements that include requests for funding to support the same project being proposed in the application under this NOFO, or would cover any identical cost items outlined in the budget as part of the application under this funding opportunity. The applicant must disclose applications made directly to federal awarding agencies, plus applications for subawards of federal funds. The Disclosure of Duplication and Cost Items section presents a yes or no option. If yes is selected, the option to enter each duplication and cost entry opens. Select either no or yes to the question asking whether the applicant has any pending applications in the past 12 months. If no, select Continue. If yes, add the duplicate cost item by selecting Add Item and inserting the following: federal or state funding agency, NOFO name or project name, grantor POC name, grantor POC phone, grantor POC email. Then select Add Item to add additional duplicate cost items and complete applicable text boxes. Select Delete after highlighting items or rows to delete items or rows. Select Continue. Applicants are required to review and accept the U.S. Department of Justice Certified Standard Assurances by selecting the checkbox at the bottom of each notice. In the rest of the Disclosures and Assurances section, each document has a checkbox at the bottom of the document. Select the checkbox after reading each notice. The applicant's signer ID and signing data time are displayed below the acknowledgement checkbox. Once that box is checked, you can use the Continue button to move to the next document. Checking the box acknowledges that you have read, understood, and agree with the content. Select DOJ certifications regarding lobbying. Applicants must review and accept the U.S. Department of Justice certifications regarding lobbying, debarment, suspension, and other responsibility matters, drug-free workplace requirements, or coordination with affected agencies by selecting the checkbox at the bottom after reading the notice. Select the checkbox after reading the notice. The applicant's signer ID and signing data time are displayed below the acknowledgement checkbox. The Other Disclosures and Assurances section provides a place to upload additional disclosures and assurances as needed. Use the Upload button to add any files believed to be helpful to the application. The following document types can be uploaded: PDF, Microsoft Word, and Excel. Follow the prompts to upload a file from the computer and select Continue once done uploading files. Applicants are required to review and accept the declaration and certification to DOJ as to this application submission by selecting the checkbox at the bottom of the notice. Select Declaration and Certification to DOJ as to application submission. Select the checkbox after reading the declaration and certification to DOJ as to this application submission notice. The applicant's signer ID and signing date and time are displayed below the acknowledgement checkbox. The Other section is for file attachments that are not required in other application sections but may be needed for the application. Use the Upload button and follow the prompts to upload a file. File names can be updated or changed, but the category will display as Other in the Attachments category. Select Continue to move to the next application section.
When you feel your application is ready to submit to DOJ for review, you will first check your application for errors, certify, and then submit it. On the Certify and Submit screen, the final section of the application submitters can select the Check for Errors button. This check will confirm that required fields were completed throughout the application, as well as whether budget totals are consistent in both the standard applicant information and budget sections. Note that if the application submitters have been progressing through the application using the Continue button, these error checks would have already happened at each application section. If errors are found, you will see a banner at the top of the screen and a caret that you need to select to expand and view the errors. Each of the errors listed must be corrected before the application can be submitted. You can open the accordions for any section called out with a red triangle to drill down to the specific error in the application. To fix errors in the application, expand the section or sections with the red alert indicator. Select the Edit Application link to go directly to that part of the application. When you click the Edit Application Error indicator, that page of the application opens, making it easy for you to correct that error. Once you have corrected the error on that page, save and navigate back to the Certify and Submit page using the navigation menu at the top of the page or the Continue button at the bottom. Once all errors have been corrected, the Final Review and Certification of Application Confirmation checkbox will be editable at the bottom of the Certify and Submit page. This is the last error on your list to correct. If errors remain on your application, this checkbox will be grayed out and you will not be able to submit your application. Once the Final Review and Certification of Application Confirmation box is checked, you can select the Submit button. Your application has been routed to DOJ for review. The status has changed to Submitted and will remain in that status. Should you need to, you are able to recall this application to make updates and resubmit as long as you resubmit prior to the JustGrants deadline. We will provide instructions in a few minutes on how to recall your application if needed. Note: once the application is submitted, all application submitters, authorized representatives, and entity admins will receive an email confirming the application was submitted. After you have submitted your application, you are probably wondering what's next. Once the application deadlines have passed, DOJ will begin its review. The status of the application will remain submitted. Check the NOFO for details about the review process and timeline. Generally, award notices are made by the end of the federal fiscal year, which is September 30th. During the review process, an application may be sent back to you for programmatic or financial clarification. See how to respond to application change requests for additional guidance. If your application is selected for funding, email notices will be sent to the application submitter, authorized representative, and entity administrator. Assigned users must be kept current to ensure notices are sent to the appropriate entity contacts. DOJ funded award information for the Community-Oriented Policing Services Office, Office of Justice Programs, and Office on Violence Against Women are found at the websites listed here.
The steps that we just went through apply to all applications submitted to the Department of Justice. There are additional steps you can take with your application as needed. We can talk about some of those now. In our main example, we processed an application with a single application submitter. However, it is possible to assign up to 3 application submitters to a single application if needed. Up to 3 application submitters can be assigned to an application at one time. However, only one application submitter can work on the application at a time. From the Applications menu, all assigned application submitters are displayed. If you select the caret to the left of the case ID, additional details about the application appear. You can see the project title, total estimated funding, proposed start and end dates. In addition, all entity users associated with the application are displayed, including all application submitters. Look to the Pending Assignments column to see who is assigned to the application currently. It might be the entity administrator or any of the application submitters. Application Submitter 1, Application Submitter 2, and Application Submitter 3 are all able to open, edit, and submit the application. However, the following circumstances apply. Only one application submitter can edit an application at a time. If another application submitter is currently working in the application, a message will display indicating that other application submitters cannot edit until the current application submitter closes the application. If no other application submitters are currently updating the application, one of the others can take edit capability. Only the application submitter currently assigned will locate the application in their work list. The others will find it in the applications menu. If you are the application submitter with current edit capability and you have located the application from the applications menu, you will be presented with a begin link. You must use this link to edit the application. If the begin link is not visible in this screen, the application remains assigned to another application submitter, and you must follow the next steps to gain access to edit the application. To gain edit access, select the Actions menu in the Application ID and select the Edit Application option. After selecting the Edit Application option, a pop-up window appears asking if you are sure you want to edit the application. Select Cancel to return without saving changes or Submit to proceed with editing the application. The Begin link is now visible for you to open the application in edit mode. Remember, the application remains assigned to the application submitter and appears only in this application submitter's work list until another application submitter selects the Edit Application option from the Actions menu. And as we saw a moment ago, if another application submitter is currently working on the application, an error message will display that reads, "A user is currently editing the application. You cannot edit until this user closes the application."
While it is possible for an entity to apply for the same funding opportunity twice with different projects, it is also possible for duplicate application submissions to appear in JustGrants in error. JustGrants supports the creation of multiple applications for unique projects under the NOFO when allowed by the specific NOFO. JustGrants will show what it identifies as potential duplicate entries from Grants.gov based on the entity identifier and NOFO title. The application submitter needs to indicate if these are intentional, unique projects that should move forward for submission, or if they are unintentional, such as when multiple system or human submissions are received from Grants.gov, and they should be resolved as a duplicate.
Select the Case ID link to review the application details. Selecting Remove this application resolves the duplicate application and changes the status to Resolve Duplicate. Selecting Continue with this application creates a new case in JustGrants to be completed and submitted as a separate application.
If your entity has an application for funding in JustGrants, but makes the decision not to move forward with the application at all, it is possible to cancel an application. It's important to know that if you cancel an application and reconsider your decision, you will have to start all over again by beginning the application process in Grants.gov. If your organization mistakenly creates a grant application, you can choose Cancel Application from the Actions drop-down in the top right corner of the application screen. Please take note that canceling an application is not reversible. Once an application is canceled, it may not be reopened by an applicant. Grants.gov requires a new application submission for the NOFO if a previous application for that NOFO was canceled. You will be required to enter a justification in the cancellation reason text box. Confirm that you are canceling this application. When you select Submit, the application is canceled. Once canceled, the application status changes to Resolved Canceled. The Cancel option is final. Canceled applications cannot be reopened.
If you have submitted an application, but it's still before the JustGrants deadline for submission, you can recall the application to work on it and resubmit it prior to the deadline. An application can be recalled prior to the JustGrants deadline for further work if the application was submitted prematurely, if information is missing from the application, or if the application needs to be updated. Only assigned application submitters can recall a submitted application. Select the application ID for the application recall. A recalled application must be resubmitted prior to the JustGrants deadline. Select Recall Application from the Actions menu. This will make a pop-up window appear. Enter a reason for the recall in the Recall Application Confirmation pop-up window. Select Submit to continue with the recall application process. If you select Submit, the status of the application will become pending draft. Or select Cancel to return without any changes being saved. All the information regarding the recall of a submitted application is captured in the audit trail. The assigned application submitter, authorized representative, and entity administrator will receive an email notification that the application was recalled and is no longer considered to be submitted. Select the Begin link in the assignment screen to begin editing the recalled application. While the application is in a recalled status, the application will appear in the assigned user's My Work list. Once the recalled application has been resubmitted, it will no longer appear in the work list, but will be found in the application's menu. The recalled flag displays while the application is in pending draft status or if the deadline passes and the application was not resubmitted. Once an application is submitted, the recalled flag will no longer appear. Use the Continue button to navigate to any section of the application that needs modification and make all edits. You can use the Save button to save completed work without submitting the application, so you can return later to finish. Use the Check for Errors button to verify the completeness of the application. Correct any errors that are returned. Select the Submit button to resubmit the application. Please note, a recalled application must be resubmitted prior to the JustGrants deadline. A successful resubmission returns a screen with the status as submitted and a message reading, "Thank you. The next step in this case has been routed appropriately." If there are others who need to review the application before or after it is submitted, you can use the option to print your application in PDF or hard copy. To print a copy of your application, open the Actions button in the upper right corner of the screen and select the Print option. The print window appears. Different computers may display different screens, however, most print windows have the same sort of information. Select the printer you would like to use. In this example, we are going to print to Adobe PDF. Use the options in the print window to adjust your file as you like. You can change the orientation or print some or all pages. If you have a color printer, you can adjust that as well. Select the Print button when you're ready. Save or print your application as you like. This print option will only print the JustGrants fields. It will not print any attached files. You will need to open and print the attached files individually. Close the print preview by selecting the X in the upper right corner.
Okay, it's time to explore another common question. What's going on that I can't seem to print out my entire application?
Again, you can print all the web-based entries in JustGrants by opening the Actions menu and selecting Print. The Print option does not print any file attachments. You will need to print those separately from your workstation or shared drive.
JustGrants generates status codes to indicate important information about your award. Let's take a look at the status codes related to application submission. During the application and review process, you might see a few different status codes on your application. These statuses help you track where your application stands at any given point. Here's what they mean in simple terms. Pending new.
This means that your application has been assigned, but no one at your entity has begun work on it.
Pending draft.
This means the application has been opened and work has begun.
Pending change requested.
This means that the grant manager has returned the application for additional changes.
Pending financial change requested.
This means that the application has been returned with requested financial changes.
Last is submitted.
Submitted means that your application has been submitted to DOJ for review. Generally, applicants should expect to see their application status as submitted until final award decisions are made. Before we close, we would like to provide you with additional resources we have created to guide you through the application submission process.
The JustGrants website has much more information about JustGrants, including training, resources, and updates, as well as links to things you need such as checklists, resource guides, and user support contact information. You can also find out information about funding awards and opportunities.
Once you open the training link, you will see a list of training topics displayed. Select a topic to explore to open a page with training resources dedicated to that topic. Typically, you will find a job aid reference guide and quick reference guides.
The job aid reference guides provide step-by-step instructions with screenshots to help you walk through a task. You can print these or view them on screen, depending on how you like to work. They are also a great reference if you are in the middle of a task and want to verify the next steps.
The quick reference guides are short 3 to 4 page guides that walk you step by step through specific tasks. Here are some links to additional application resources. The JustGrants training and resources website was mentioned earlier, but it is so useful we'll mention it again. This website contains everything you need to know about using JustGrants to submit your application. And should you receive funding, you will want to explore this site as you learn what you need to know to manage your award in JustGrants. The Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, or COPS office, also provides additional application materials that are unique to their specific funding opportunities. The Office of Justice Programs, or OJP, offers an excellent grant application resource guide. And the Office on Violence Against Women, or OVW, has their own site providing resources for applicants for OVW awards.
JustGrants technical issues should be sent to JustGrants technical support. For grant application status, check the website from the DOJ managing offices, COPS, OJP, and OVW. To contact the COPS and OJP technical support desk, you can send an email to justgrants.support@usdoj.gov. You can also call 833-872-5175 Monday through Saturday between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday and federal holidays. If you are an applicant or award recipient for an OVW award and need assistance, contact the OVW support desk at ovw.justgrantsupport@usdoj.gov or call 866-655-4482. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please use the JustGrants support email or phone line for any issues that you may have when working in JustGrants. Thank you all very much for joining us today.
We hope that you found the information we've provided here to be useful.